Welcome back, everyone, to the Burnout Club. This is a place where we explore burnout and success one expert and experiment at a time. I'm your host, Patrice, and today I'm joined by Ashwin Muthiah. He is the founder of the Unpinned Wine Club, of which I am a member and a huge fan, and I requested that he come on this podcast to talk about it. So welcome to the club.
Thank you, Patrice. I'm so happy to be here. This is the first time we're actually getting to really connect, so this is really cool. Thanks for having me.
Yes, so we went straight from, I am a customer, I love it, to I have to have you on the podcast. So everyone, you're seeing this in real time.
Yeah.
So why don't you just tell us a little bit about who you are and your founder story to give us the context?
Totally happy to. So I'm Ashwin. I'm the founder of the Unpinned Wine Club. We exist because there are 10,000 known wine grapes on the planet, but 20 of them account for 99% of the wines people will drink in the US. And as an avid lover of all things flavor, especially wine, but also food, coffee, anything that tastes good, I love it. That fact is extremely painful because it essentially means we're eroding and erasing the biodiversity that exists in the world of wine, which means there's like tons of amazing and new things that we can taste that most of us won't taste and don't get to taste. And if that trend continues, those things will cease to exist. And we've seen that with scores of varieties that have just gone extinct because they get ripped up and you plant Chardonnay instead, and then that indigenous variety in Greece no longer exists anymore. And so we focus on bringing the underrepresented varieties from around the world to your door. And not only do we bring you just the wine, but all the context you might need around it, which Patrice, maybe you could even speak to a little bit, but you get food and wine pairings, you get my tasting notes, you get kind of the reflections that I have about the wine and why I think it's important and how it fits in the context of the theme. And it's been quite the journey. We launched less than 3 months ago, but we're growing and we're excited.
It's such a good time to talk to you because a lot of the folks that listen to this podcast are entrepreneurs themselves. So seeing you 3 months into the launch, I think is such a critical and interesting stage.
Yeah.
And then also, I did a full-blown study on burnout, and wine is definitely included as one, just an activity that people enjoy, but also a coping mechanism. So like wine is everywhere around. So this is a great window to give someone a different angle to view wine. So this is
Totally.
a interesting project to take on. Like, oh, okay, I'm going to turn it into something interesting and try one of the other 10,000 grapes. And it always leads to a conversation. Whenever I
Yeah.
explain it to someone, they're like, what are you talking about? What do you mean?
Yes,
So
exactly.
people are
That's
on
what's so
board.
that's what's so fun about it because most people, I mean, there are folks where I'll pour them a wine and it'll be a Tino Mavro, is a variety I really love. It's from Greece. It's a red grape, similar to kind of Nebbiolo, which
Mhm.
is made famous by Barolo. And there was this one time I poured for someone a Tino Mavro and they're like, "Oh, what is that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's a Tino Mavro. It's a grape from Greece. It's really good." And they're like, "No, no, like, what is that? Is it a Cabernet? Is it a Pinot Noir?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "No, I like Cabernet is a grape variety. Pinot Noir is a grape variety. You've probably only heard of a few, but there's actually 10,000. This is one of those other 10,000. It's called Pinot Noir." And they're like, "No, but like Chardonnay, like Pinot Noir, like what is it?" It's just
Yeah,
that's how
that,
ingrained it is for most of us, and it's not our fault. Like the wine world has made it seem like there's only these like 8 or 10 grapes that exist,
yeah.
but
Hmm.
it's absolutely a conversation starter, and it's like a world opener because you realize how much of the world there is that has thousands of years of winemaking history that most of us like don't even know, like we don't even know that they make wine. And
Yeah.
so it's like a great place to start a conversation and to start exploring how vast the world of wine, how vast the world is, and
Mhm.
specifically how vast the world of wine is, which is,
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of fun. It sounds like you think it's fun too. So yeah.
It definitely is. And it helps with the global lens. I remember being in a meeting and the ambassador to the country of Georgia was there, and her staff was talking about how everyone loves to visit because of the extensive wine that they grow there and how phenomenal it is. And I had no idea. Right. So like, I don't necessarily want to be in this situation where there's this thriving economy on something that everyone else in the world is loving, and I just have no idea. So it
Yeah,
kind of like unlocking little pieces of that for a seat
totally.
at
And
least.
It's 100% that. And Georgia is a great example where I was raised in Atlanta, Georgia. I was born in India, but I grew up in a different Georgia.
Yeah.
Usually when you say Georgia and you talk about wine, people think of like the state of Georgia in the US. They're like they
Atlanta.
don't even realize that there's this country in the Caucasus Mountains, and nor do they realize, again, it's not their fault, but that's where wine was born. 8,000 years ago, wine was
Mhm.
born there, just grapes in a pot that fermented, and it's really amazing to me that the industry has done like such a good job of obfuscating such an important
Yeah.
element of wine, which is its origin story. Because if you ask the
Mhm.
average wine drinker where's wine from, they're probably going to say France or Italy,
You're so
which
right. Yeah.
it, it's kind of crazy to think about. It's like, how do we not, like what happened? How do we not know where it came from?
That's a great question. What happened?
Yeah, I ask myself that a lot.
Yeah. And you know what? I think an element to this, one hump that people may have, is just the pronunciation, right? So like we've gotten so used to the, handful or two handfuls of wine names, but they're also very easy to pronounce. So the one that
Yep.
you just spoke about, like how can someone go about enjoying and like having an intelligent or like decent conversation about it? Is there
Yeah.
some sort of shorthand or way we should approach that so that
That
we're
is
not just
such
like,
an amazing question. That's such an amazing question. And I think, like, I want to actually kind of dive to the reason why you feel the need to ask that, which is
Mhm.
wine in general, for a long time, has been very pretentious. And so most of us feel afraid to make any kind of mistakes or slip ups or let the veneer drop at all. And this is something that's been kind of architected by the wine industry because, the less you feel like the more I, industry professional, can tell you what is good and not good. And oh,
Mhm.
by the way, the things that I'm going to tell you are good are going to cost a lot of money. And
Yeah.
I'm going to make you too scared to ask for the other stuff that's like reasonably priced.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think like the question comes from, and the answer in my mind is actually not so much a tactical one, but more a mindset and approach, which is if we're willing to drop all of that and just
Mhm.
be just be like kind and open and loving and normal, then all of a sudden, if you pronounce the wine name wrong, it's not that big of a deal anymore.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, it's like it's totally okay. It's like this is literally it's Greek to me. Like you read this and you're like, I don't know how to say this, but let's figure it out together.
Yeah.
Because the direct answer to your question is no, there isn't a shortcut, right? These
Yeah.
wine comes from a bunch of different countries from all over the world where they speak all these different languages and have very different pronunciations, which
Mhm.
is part of the joy and the thrill and the excitement of discovery. But that also then means there's no shortcut of just like, oh, there's this like one easy way to explore
Yeah.
all the world of wine across, four different continents and 40 different countries and whatnot.
Yes. So, and that brings up a good point because I like when there's a substantial amount to learn about something. Like I find that to be a selling point for an activity. So the fact that I have to use my brain and try to remember and pronounce things are like that's a little added bonus for the
Yeah.
conversation. And now I think you probably are approaching it from a much more technical angle. Can you just go into your background? Like, how are you even in the wine space?
Totally. This is going to be a bit random. So my degrees in economics, I spent the first part of my career in kind of growth stage technology companies, venture-backed companies on the strategy and fundraising side of things. I still I have a consulting life in that arena still. And
Mhm.
10 years ago, I was facing burnout, actually. And what I kind of the answer that came out of the burnout was wine. And if it's interesting, maybe I'll share that story with you. I believe our bodies are wise, and I was having, and I believe this after having these experiences that I've had, which is 10 years ago, I was having some pretty severe like health issues, kind of stomach and digestion related, and I saw a bunch of specialists. They did, they stuck tubes everywhere. It was like they're like nothing's wrong, but I was still like feeling very, very sick. And I was sitting in a surgeon's office, and they're like, "Yeah, we think we're going to try removing your gallbladder and see if that helps." And I was in my early 20s, and I was,
Wow.
I was like thinking to myself, "Like, you're going to play guess and check with my body by cutting me open and like pulling out an organ and see if it helps." Like, I was like,
Yeah,
just
that feels
hard
wrong.
pass. That is not right. That is no, we're not doing that. And that kind of started like an introspective growth journey for me, which was, okay, let me try and understand what's happening with myself. And a few things came out. One is like I was lacking like passion in my everyday. I was doing something that I was good at, but I wasn't necessarily passionate about. And I was like way out of balance with how much time I spent doing this thing I was good at versus doing things that I just enjoyed. Um,
Yeah.
and so I kind of like made this list of like, okay, what are things that I just love to do? Because we kind of get conditioned out of, I'll backtrack for a second. Like when you're in kindergarten, or people just say like, live your dream, like just go have fun. And you're in first grade and they still say that. And then all of a sudden it just changes somewhere. And everyone's like, you got to be practical. Like, what's going to make you money? Like, you're never going to make a career out of that. And like, it just like
Yeah.
flips, and you forget, like, you can just freaking have fun. And it could turn into a career. It could not. But like, you need to have the freedom and the space to do that. And
Hmm.
so that was the attitude I took towards like the next phase, which was, okay, let me just like write down a bunch of things I love to do. So I was like, I love playing basketball. I love playing my guitar. I love wine. I love food. I just like made this list. And then, the next day I came back and looked at this list, and it's like, all right, cool. Like, I don't think I'm playing in the NBA in this lifetime. Like that ship has sailed. Like I'm probably not going to be a rock star. Like I don't think that's going to happen. So I like went through with a slightly
Yeah.
practical eye and crossed some of these things off. And what remained was food and wine. Um, Thanks to my mom, I am, and I was a pretty good cook. And so I was like, all right, let's do this wine thing. And I just dove headfirst into, I went to wine school. So you asked, like, technically, so I am a sommelier. I have the certification, although I have a lot of qualms with the, the way that certification functions, and how, again,
Mm.
we ignored these other 10,000 grapes, right? During my certification, we just tasted these like 10 grapes over and over again, ignoring everything else.
Really?
Um, yeah, yeah. So if the educators themselves are not educated, how like just the average wine drinker be educated, right? It's
Yeah.
so anyway. So I got certified as a sommelier. I knew I didn't want to work, like, it wasn't going to make sense for me to be in restaurants. Just the lifestyle is really challenging. Long
Mm.
hours, late nights. You don't see your friends and family that much, and so I was kind of like moving through the world of wine, carving my own path. So I was leading private and corporate tastings on my own. And that's where I started really discovering kind of a voice that I think is really important in the wine world that you don't hear a lot of, which is a champion for the other 10,000 grapes, and someone that's just like, God forbid, nice. Like my brand in wine was just like, I'm just nice. Like, genuinely, like, if you like, if you like your barefoot wine, like, I'm not going to be an asshole to you about it. It's like, great. Like, you're a cheap date. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Like, you can go spend $4, and like, that's fine. Like, I'll educate you on why that may not be the best for your health, why that may not be the best for the world.
Mm.
Like, I'll give you the tools to help you change if you'd like, but I'm not going to
Yeah.
force it on you. And I think that like really propelled me into the direction where I am now, which is, we do a lot of content, and we started this wine club because there's there's a lot of wine out there that I'd love for the world to explore, that I've had the privilege of tasting, and I've had the privilege of meeting all these amazing winemakers who, are unfortunately scratching their heads like, I make a great wine and it's not that expensive, but nobody wants to drink it. What's going on? Like, I have
Yeah.
so many winemaker friends that are in that boat, and I'm like, you're right. This sucks. Like, people are going and paying $200 for this bottle that's worth like, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. And here, your
Yeah.
wine is retailing for like $32, and like, nobody has heard of it. Nobody's willing to try it. And so that's kind of how I've like found this path. And I'm early in my path, Patrice. Like, the wine club is
Yeah.
less than 3 months old. It's
Mm.
growing, but it's still not huge. I haven't paid myself a salary from the wine business, and I've been working on this for years. So
Yeah.
we're early. We're hustling, usually in a positive way. Every once in a while we hustle because of hustle mentality, and we try to catch that when it's happening, and do less of it
Right.
because it's not productive. It's not fun, and it's not productive. I'll pause there. I hope I answered your question. I don't know if I veered too far off course.
No, absolutely. I think any information that you're sharing with us is helpful for us to understand who you are and
Yeah.
how, like, what your vision is. And I think
Yeah.
it's becoming clear. But you touched on something about the winemaker, so let's talk about that for a second. So, um, what is that process like? Like, how do you actually meet them, develop relationships with them? Like, because I think
Yeah.
part of what you're trying to do is also change the culture a little bit so that other people are maybe making those connections and seeking out smaller vineyards. So tell us a little bit about how you went about making
Yeah.
those connections and also advice for, like, let's say your everyday person that wants to take a trip to a country and would like to hit up some other vineyards. Like, how should they be thinking about it?
Totally. These are such fun questions. This is one of the most fun interviews I've had in a long time. Um,
Thank you.
so on the first piece, like how did I do it? And then I'll address
Yeah.
like how could you, the general you, do it? So I ended up dedicating my life for probably half a decade or a little bit more to meeting people who make cool things without any agenda. And what I mean by that is I I was never licensed to sell wine. Not until we launched this wine club and we have the infrastructure. I went purely out of my own personal curiosity. I was just like,
Yeah.
I love wine. I think it's amazing. What is one thing we have in common with people that have been around for 8,000 years? It's like we walk, we eat
Yeah.
things, we go to the bathroom, we drink wine. Like there's so few things that tie us
Yeah.
back all the way through the course of human history. Wine is one of those things. So I was just wildly curious. You could even call it stupidly curious because I've, left a lot of things, packed a couple bags, and just started bouncing around the world. So
Oh,
we lived in Georgia, the country. We lived in Hungary. We lived in Italy. We spent time in Scotland making whiskey. We were in
mm,
Serbia. And so
mhm.
our approach was, slightly more radical. It's not, I don't think everyone's going to pack a couple bags and just like leave for
Yeah.
months at a time. Yeah, call me crazy, but that's what my wife and I ended up doing, and
Mhm.
our path ended up taking us kind of permanently abroad. So we now live in Florence. We spend a
Mm.
little more than half the year in our home base in Florence, and then we're back in the US quite frequently for work. But that was kind of how I did it. And what you'll find, and this is starting to answer part two of the question, like how could the general you connect with winemakers?
Yeah.
Winemakers are so friendly. They're so
Mm.
grounded and beautiful and amazing and generous because winemakers are mostly farmers, especially when you're talking about small production wineries. So if you're, like I won't name names, but like any of the brands you likely recognize, they're making millions of bottles. That's just a factory. Like
Mhm.
there's little to no human element there. And that's
Yeah.
why I say it's not good for the world. It's not supporting the type of economy we really, it's a homogenized economy.
Mm.
It's definitely not good for your body because they have to introduce all sorts of chemicals in the fields and in the winemaking in order to create, this beverage at scale.
Volume.
But when it's small winemakers, they make 10,000 bottles or 20,000 bottles and they have 4 hectares or 6 hectares. It's just like a mom and pop family operation. And they they're just really amazing, kind, warm, generous, beautiful people. And so if you want to go traveling and meet winemakers, it's as simple as just like sending them a message on Instagram or emailing them.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
there's no like crazy form or hoops to jump through. And most of the time when it's a small winery, if you're reaching out to them, it's gonna be the winemaker or the owner that replies back to you. It's not gonna be like
Yeah.
some junior marketing person who, like doesn't actually know anything about the winemaking, but has memorized like 2 pages of like talk tracks. It's like the
Yeah.
actual person who's like usually covered, wearing coveralls and covered in dirt
Mm.
and is like moving heavy shit all the time. That's who you're going to talk to. And so for anyone that's like curious as they're traveling to meet winemakers, it's actually really easy. Just like even just ask ChatGPT, like give me a small list of like the
Mm.
small winemakers in this region, and you just send
Yeah.
a couple of them a message, and you'll almost always hear back. And that's how most of my now friends, I made them that way. I would just be like, I tasted
Wow.
your wine and it blew my mind. I want to come see you. And then now these are like some of my best friends. Just so it's,
Amazing.
yeah.
Oh man. Okay. So that is certainly task number one for all the listeners. Just do a sample, take some place, put it in ChatGPT or some other LLM, and then see what comes out and
Yeah.
see them a message. And you know what? I think that adds so much more because you want to take a tour and you want to taste the wine, but learning something and feeling like you have a connection. And who doesn't want to feel special, right? Like, oh yeah,
Totally.
wow, I got to meet the founder, the owner, coming up, been
Totally.
in their family for generations. It's a whole different element.
It's a whole different element. Because when people go to visit wineries, or if they even have the desire, what is the function? Like, why are they going? They're not going to learn a bunch of information about this beverage. That's not why you go. I think you
Mhm.
said it best, Patrice. You go because you want to feel special and you want to feel something special. And that you only get when you're talking to someone who's really passionate. And, the junior marketing person of like a 500 person organization is not usually going to give you that feeling. But when you're talking to Monica and her husband and then her son, and they're the ones that are like in the fields and like they're tilling the soils and they're harvesting the grapes with their own hands. When they tell you about this wine, they're thinking about all the blood and sweat and tears and the hail that came that kept them up all night, and they crossed their fingers. They woke up the next morning and the grapes were generally fine. Like that, and then they're so proud, like at the end, like, look at this bottle that we made despite all this, like all the challenges in the vineyards this year. Like, that's why
Mhm.
you go, right? And
Yeah.
that's why you leave with this feeling of like, oh man, I touched a world that I never would have gotten to touch or see otherwise. That's what I think, at least. That's why I think people want to go visit these wineries.
Yeah. And well, you brought up a couple of good points. For me, it's definitely a draw, like you're saying, the concept of being nice. So just to go somewhere and have someone be really inviting and nice, it's refreshing. I'm in
Yep.
the New York tri-state area. We're not always nice. So
Yep.
it feels good when you can just be around someone that's warm and inviting, like, oh my goodness, this is so different.
Yeah.
So that's just funny. But it seems like you are really, I think, hitting on a nerve where people are craving that in this industry. And the fact that you brought it back to, like, there are farmers. I think when people have wine in their head, they're not really connecting it to the crop and the farmer. And that's probably by design, like you were saying, right? To just make it more of a machine, but it really humanizes the process.
Yeah, which is so important. Which is so, so important, right? Especially here in the US. Like, we're not in a great place when it comes to our nutrition, right? And
No.
when it comes to just like nourishing our bodies, and being able to nourish your body in America is really, really hard. Why is that? Because we've lost touch with like the human element of being and feeling nourished, right? Like,
Yeah.
we just like, you walk into a supermarket, everything's plastic wrap. It's just like we're so far removed from, where did this apple come from? Like, it came from a tree in a field where there's dirt and bugs and flowers and bees, and all those things are absolutely necessary if this fruit tree is going to produce this apple. And the result of that is, unfortunately, when we're here, it's like hard to eat well. It's hard to feel good. Like, you just get
Yeah.
sluggish. And so the same thing happens in wine. Like, we just see this bottled beverage and you're like, oh, it's like basically just like, some people, it's just like Coca-Cola. It's just like this other bottled beverage, except this has some alcohol. And it's really important for us to remember, like, what is wine? Like, sure, for some people, it's just a beverage. Fine. Like, I get it. Like, but I view it differently, but I understand that for you, it's just something you drink. Okay.
Hmm.
But the root of what wine is, and what makes it so special, like, why has it been around for 8,000 years? Why is it that when you're eating, you almost exclusively pair, if you want to have the best like dining experience, it's usually wine. It's because wine can express its liquid history in a bottle. Like, it will tell you something about a place and a time. And it
Hmm.
won't tell you in words. It won't tell you in song. It won't tell you with writing. It's the only place you can consume that liquid history is by drinking it.
Yep.
And if you start to like tune yourself up to it, like, you can learn a lot about a place and people and culture just by drinking something. And so when we think about, oh, wine is connected to the earth and the weather and the people, I think it brings us this awareness that I find really special. And I try and help people understand why I think it's special, and maybe you think it's special too. And then, of course, there's some people who are like, ah, that sounds like Coswell. Like, I just want to drink the wine. I'm like, all right, cool. I get it.
Yeah,
No problem.
yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, you do you.
Yeah.
Uh, so for the people that are interested in it, I think it's this great intersection because normally the conversation around things that aren't healthy for us have the trade-off of being more expensive. But this is almost like the inverse where you're actually paying less for things that are healthier for you and maybe much more of a great experience or taste better, however we want to word it. But like you're kind of removing that cost barrier to greater access. So like I think that's an awesome opportunity, for you, the business person, for us as the consumers. But how can someone listening to this podcast like get access to those wines? It's not like a direct plug for your club, but like
Sure.
someone
Well, I'll plug.
some of them want it.
No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, but like if you're just home, right? Like how do you get that experience or like try to make those healthier choices?
Absolutely. So I will take the softball and plug my club, and then I'll give some alternatives. So
Okay.
a great option is to join my wine club. We're featuring all these like sustainably farmed small winemakers, almost all organic, a lot of biodynamic. Just like they're healthy. They're wines that I drink to support a healthy lifestyle. And I think the important thing for me to add here is I like health is important to me. I take care of my body, and wine is a part of that healthy lifestyle. It is not it's not a despite. It's not something that's counter or is like detracting from my healthy lifestyle. I have
Mhm.
1 to 2 glasses of wine almost every night, and I
Mhm.
feel better as a result. And I believe that if you're drinking the right wines, it is like actually healthy. So
Mhm.
joining my wine club is one way. Another way, especially as it relates to wine, is shopping small. So I think the worst thing you can do as a consumer is buy wine from the grocery store, buy wine from Costco, buy wine from Total Wines, buy wine from wine.com. Those are like the absolute worst things that you can do. Because their business model is let's find like wines that are produced at scale, kind of
Mhm.
compress the margins because we, the retailer, are so big, we can like bully the makers or the
Right.
manufacturers and then create a really robust operations so that we can then like squeeze a lot of margin when we sell it to the end customer.
Mhm.
Whereas, and most of this is done without any heart or care or passion, right? Which is what we're searching for. And so the solution to that is like go to your local wine store. Go to the shop where someone opened this brick and mortar store knowing full well all of the risks, and they're dealing with bursting pipes and increasing rent and labor problems. Like they deal with
Mhm.
all that because they care so much about wine that they want to curate a selection that they're proud of to then offer to you. That's where you want to go to shop for your wine. And almost always when you walk in and you ask them and you tell them like, hey, I'm looking for wines that are less intervention or organic, or I just want wines that like make me feel good, like
Mhm.
they will have a lot for you because
Mhm.
they're there also likely, similar to me, because they care about wine and they think wine can be part of a healthy lifestyle. And so yeah, I think shop like where you go to buy your wine is probably the biggest thing that you can change as a
Mhm.
consumer to then like have access to these wines, these better quality wines more. And
Yeah.
then once you're in these environments, you can just ask simple questions like, or give guidance to the staff. Like, I want minimal intervention wines, or I want wines that are organic or close to organic. I want
Mhm.
wines with less additives, because ultimately our bodies just want things that are natural. That's what it
Mhm.
wants. So if you're adding a bunch of
Understood.
chemicals to something, whether it's wine or food or coffee or whatever, your body's not going to be happy. But if it's just
Mhm.
grapes in that bottle, your body's gonna be thrilled. Like it's almost like natural Gatorade. 2,000 years ago, like Roman soldiers, they gave them a liter of wine a day. Like that was just like that was like what you drank. Like, you mix it with water, it was way less alcohol, but like it
Yeah.
genuinely can be like an everyday healthy thing. And I think that's the way you
Mhm.
do it. Is like shop at smaller stores and then ask for wines that have like less additives, less intervention.
When you're talking to like customers or consumers, do you have a go-to recommendation? Like, let's say someone's like, "Oh, I love Pinot Noir, or I love Chardonnay, or I love, Cab Sauv." Like, is there like a one-to-one? Like, try this first.
That's a good question. often what I'll do is they're kind of like corollaries. So if someone's like, I really like Cabernet, one of the first things I'll suggest is Saperavi from Georgia, because you'll get this like dark, bold, inky, brooding red wine, which is usually what you're getting from a Cabernet with less, I don't want to get all technical on like what makes it similar and different, but it's like similar enough so that you're not, you still get the taste profile you're looking for, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also from a different country, different variety. That's really exciting. Similar to where if someone says like, oh, I really like Sauvignon Blanc, I might suggest Assyrtiko from Greece. It's a little bit fuller bodied, but you still get these like slightly floral, like saline, like some fruits. So based on what variety you're telling me, I might have something in my back pocket for this would be good. And then, I mean, in an ideal world, this is a conversation we're having where I can open some wines and I'll just be like, all right, cool, cool. Just like, come with me. Let me just pour you some stuff. Let me just like pour you some
Yeah.
stuff and let's talk about it is the
Yeah.
ideal way to do it. But yeah, every once in a while I have these like one-to-one, like, okay, if you like this, try this. That's like catchy and it works on Instagram. It's not,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily it's not, it's not that simple.
Yeah.
But
Because there's 10,000.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't want to just be sitting here recommending Saperavi all the time because most people do drink Cabernet. So that they'll be like, well, then I'll just be only selling, talking about
Yeah.
this one grape. But it's like, dude, there's so many that are amazing. Just try. If you, my advice, the advice I'll often give is like, if you've never heard of it, like order the thing you've never heard of. Like if you see a wine list and there's something you've never heard of, like order that, try that. And part of that means you got to be willing to fail. Like sometimes it won't be good.
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
the nature of trying new things. But as long as you're willing to accept that, okay, sometimes I'm going to order a wine and I'm not going to like it. Sometimes you're going to order wine and it's going to change your life. So,
That seems worth it. Yeah.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah. And you know what? Just, make an event out of it. Get a couple ones that you haven't heard of and share them. Have some friends over, make it have a community
Absolutely.
element. Yeah, actually, that brings
Absolutely.
me to another question. I think you're also trying to build a community around it. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about why that's important, either to you or to the overall mission?
Yeah.
Um, because I think people are seeking more community. There's a loneliness epidemic. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Lots of thoughts. I think twofold are probably there's two things that are the most important that come to mind. One is that wine was born in community, and I think it's best enjoyed in community. So when I imagine 8,000 years, what was the experience like when they discovered wine? The pot with
Mhm.
the oldest known evidence of winemaking is huge. It's
Oh,
like
really?
it's large and big. It's not like this tiny pot you put on a stove. It's like enough wine for 100 people or something.
Oh my God. Okay.
And so like, you draw this conclusion of like, oh, like wine started in community. Like they must have been sitting around a fire, everyone together drinking wine. And so for me, like it was born in community and it's best enjoyed in community. That's not to say I've never had a glass of wine on the couch on my own, but
Yeah.
generally the most meaningful experiences are together. So that's one piece of it is like, what does community mean for wine? I think you can't
Mhm.
really, you don't have one without the other. And
Yeah.
then the second piece is what you just touched on, which is that like people are feeling more and more disconnected. It's
Hmm.
like we have phones, we have social media, we have all this stuff, but we feel way less connected to each other. And that's really sad. It's
Yeah.
like
It is.
it's solvable. It can be hard to solve, especially because we're kind of fighting a lot of headwinds right now.
Mhm.
More AI, like all the apps, like TikTok and everything are so addicting. Like it's hard. It's going to be hard to solve it. But I think wine plays a really awesome role in helping solve it because, we don't want to lean on it as a crutch where you drink like 6 glasses and you're drunk, but like even
Yeah.
3 sips of wine just makes you so much more ready to like be vulnerable yourself and then receive
Mhm.
vulnerability from others. And I can't say that we've like figured it out with Unpinned yet, that like the way
Yeah.
we're trying to build community around wine is the right way and we're doing it the best. Like I I don't think so, not yet. We're trying and we want to
Yeah.
figure out like what this will look like as we get bigger. In an ideal world for me, we're big enough to where we can start hosting like in-person community events in like the
Mm.
major areas where we have concentration of people. We're not that big yet. So if we were to do one, even, if we were to do one in New York, it'd be like 4 people or something. It's like it's just not
Okay.
we're just like not quite there. And so we've got this
Yeah.
intermediary step that I'm still quite proud of, which is we have like an online community element where I'm really
Yeah.
active. A lot of our members are active, which is cool.
Hmm.
Like they'll share like the food they cooked with the wine and why it paired well. Every once in a while someone will be like, I tried this one and I didn't really like it, which honestly, like I'm glad people are willing to share that because it's like, no, not every single wine I choose is going to be
Yeah.
the favorite of every single person. Like that's impossible.
Yeah.
And so those interactions are even more meaningful because it means like people are willing to be truthful as opposed to just
Yeah.
kind of like, perform online, which we do a lot of.
Hmm.
So for me, I think wine and community go hand in hand. And I think like we as a society are craving to just like I'm just echoing your words. We're craving to feel more connected. And I'd love for Unpinned to like be a small part of that for whoever is interested in engaging there. Because again, it's like it's open-minded people, right? By the very nature of our brand and what we're
Hmm.
offering, the group is it's open-minded,
Yeah.
world-loving, kind human beings. So, yeah,
Yeah, you know what? That's a great point because part of what I try to express to people is like, it's a great time in life to try to find some sort of niche group. It doesn't have to be involved with your career or, PTA or just find a group of people that kind of speak to you that brings you some sort of joy or interesting conversation. So it
yeah,
could be a good avenue. And that's a good way to judge a group. It's like, who else is drawn to that group? And
absolutely.
you can use that as a test to feel out whether it might be a good fit or waste of time. So that's another element. I like that a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the thing and then the people around the thing. And if both
Yeah.
are good, then you kind of know you're like you've you found something, right? So if you
Yeah.
like wine and then the people around this like wine element are also really cool, it's like, oh shit, like this is awesome. And that's what
Yeah.
we're hoping people feel that way about what we're creating at Unpinned. I don't have anything to
Hmm.
validate that people do, but that's,
Hmm.
that's the goal.
Yeah. Well, I think you're definitely on the right start. So I brought it. We were on vacation and just had friends and also friends of friends that I didn't even know trying the wine. It just creates different conversations. And if you're looking to add that sort of element and like you're saying, be honest and talking about stuff that you don't know and you don't feel comfortable with, then that's just a great way to give yourself a little break and departure from all of your constant, like worries and thinking about work and thinking about logistics of your day. It's just a nice break. So
It
yeah,
is
I
a necessary one, I would say,
mhm.
for most people, for me at least.
Yeah. And like I've kind of taken you all over the place. What is something that you really want to leave the listeners with? Like, yeah, what should they walk away from this conversation thinking about?
Be curious about everything you put in your mouth. Like
Hmm.
whether like your coffee or tea in the morning, the cookie that you have is a pick me up, the wine that you're drinking at lunch or dinner, because we really need folks to be a little more curious and even like discerning about what
Hmm.
we consume if we're gonna find our way back to like a nourishing society, purely
Yeah.
from like the physical nourishment side of things. Because it's easy to just kind of be busy and then just like eat and drink a bunch of things that you're not really thinking about. And most of those things are like, kind of chemical driven. And if you were ever to just like see in like a lab what those test tubes of stuff look like, you would never walk in and be like, yeah, let me mix those 3 test tubes together, add it to like a little bit of lemon extract and like drink it. It's like you would never
Yeah.
ever in a million years do that. But they've been
Yeah.
packaged so beautifully and prettily and the ingredients are hidden so small so you never see it, then you consume it. So I
Yeah.
would love for anyone listening to this to just be a little more curious about what you're eating and what you're drinking.
Hmm.
Because once that curiosity starts to kick in, like once you see it, like once you start to ask, you can't really unsee it. You can't not ask anymore. It's such a beautiful thing when you care about what you eat and drink. Every time you open your mouth and like have your sip of coffee or it could be like this moment of joy. which is how I feel. Like my coffee just ran out and I was sad. I took my last sip and I was like sad. I was like, oh man, not because I need the caffeine, but just because I just love drinking it tastes so nice. Like we ground it ourselves with our little hand grinder and it just like it. So yeah, be curious about everything you eat and drink, and especially, given what I do around wine, like be really curious about what you're drinking and where it comes from.
That's doable. I love it. I love it when it's practical, right? Like, someone can do that like right now and today. So
Yeah,
thank you for that.
of
Um,
course, of course.
Great. So how can the listeners just like kind of tag on to what you're doing? Where can they find you?
We're on Instagram at Unpinned Wine. The my website is unpinnedwineclub.com. And if you're just kind of wine curious, like follow our Instagram. We put out tons of free content about wine in general, about the other 10,000 grapes and why we think they're great, what they taste like, where they come from. So that's a great place to start. If you're ready to drink the other 10,000 grapes, join my wine club. We would love to have you. I think Patrice is happy. Otherwise, I assume I would not have gotten this invitation to join the
Correct.
podcast. It's a really cool wine club. I mean, we put so much love and heart into it, and I think that's the most important thing for anything. Even if you're going to go out to eat, you want a chef that's like really loving as they're cooking your food.
Sure.
We're really loving as we like select and choose these wines and put them together. So yeah, unpinnedwineclub.com or our Instagram, Unpinned Wine. Those are the two best places.
Great. And one small piece of information that I do like that you have the QR code where you can just scan it and then have all the information about it. Because I've always like I have a wine fridge and I have no idea where the stuff is coming from and what I thought about it when I bought it 4 years ago. So like, thank you
Yeah.
for the
Credit
consistency.
credit where credit's due. That's my wife's mom who had said, "Hey, you should put QR codes on each bottle so that, you're going to put these bottles away and you might not remember which one is unpinned and which one's not." So yeah, when
100%.
you scan it, it just takes you to like my handwritten tasting notes and everything. So yeah. Thanks,
Yeah.
Patrice. I'm glad you like it. I'll let Mama
Yeah.
Jane know.
Yeah. Let your mother-in-law know.
Yeah.
She's adding to the business.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I I didn't expect to end on your mother-in-law's note, but yeah, it's been great talking to you. Everyone, go out and enjoy something different, something new. Find Unpinned, and then send your notes so that other people in the club can see what you thought. So thank you so much for what you're trying to do for the wine community and for all of us. So like
Thank you
it's been
again,
great.
Patrice. Thank you for having me.
Bye, everyone.